is what's best for business.
I gotta go take a big hairy dump.
Oh my God.
Next main event, a tag team match.
Yes. 26.
Hello everyone and welcome to Let's Talk Wrestling Podcast, the wrestling podcast where we review every segment of Raw and give you the wrestling news of the week and a little extra topic at the end of the segment as well. My name is Turbo Tony, I am one of your hosts and we're joined by the magnificently articulate Matt Marsander. How are you doing today, Matt?
Yeah, can't particularly complain, Tony, and yourself?
Yes, not too bad myself. It's we haven't actually spoken much this week in comparison to what we do normally.
It's been a very quiet week between us, yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's actually a little bit of wrestling news. So we'll actually be able to talk about that. This week on the show, there was the release of the Scooby Doo Wrestlemania Mystery. On this show, we'll have a review as written, and I was given notes by my 4-year-old daughter, so by its intended audience, and of course I watched it as well because why not? So we actually have a legitimate review, not from just us, wrestling fan guys,
Yeah. As you said, like as sort of from the eyes of the audience, it's aimed. For and everyone else. Yeah,
I mean it's intended for kids to get into wrestling, and so we'll get into that anyway. And we've got this topic this week, which is from yourself that you decided to talk about this week. It's basically essentially talking about the aftermath of the unification of the two big belts in WWE, the World Heavyweight and the WWE belt, into the WWE World Heavyweight belt, which I still think is quite a mouthful, by the way. We're talking about whether it's harmed WWE, if it's harmed some of the wrestlers on there, or if there's just a rechanging in some of the tiers, shall we say, in some of the wrestlers. And we'll go into a little bit of that as well. So we've got plenty this week to talk about. We'll have a nice, juicy episode of Let's Talk Wrestling for you this week. We've had a few new subscribers join us over this week. Thanks a lot for subscribing. Thanks a lot for joining in for the ride. I hope you guys enjoy it. We do work very hard on the podcast each week. But let's not procrastinate any further, Matt. Let's get on with this podcast. These people need their wrestling news, goddammit. So let's do it.
We shall not hold back.
Yes. So we brought you some news the last couple of weeks. If you had your head in the sand, and you probably will have heard the fact that there is issues with the original Sin Cara, that he was set to leave WWE. This week it was official; his contract has expired, and any lasting remnants of his contract is now gone. He still plans, however, to use the Sin Cara gimmick. So expect the lawsuit to be happening with this if he does decide to use this.
Well, I think WWE did their usual thing of actually essentially buying the gimmick.
Well, this is where it is, right? I obviously we don't know the contract, so we're not going to sit here and lie to you and say we know everything about the contract. This is obviously very personal between Mystico, who's his wrestling name beforehand, and WWE. But it seems very odd for me for anyone to get involved in WWE and for WWE to give them control over the character. They just don't do that anymore. They don't. Any new person that comes in, I would be very shocked if they actually gave someone the actual full rights to a character name. How many times have you seen the likes of wrestlers go, unless they're using their real name, of course, but wrestlers go to other companies and not be able to use their name that they had in WWE?
That's it.
That's the way that they operate now. It's intelligent from them, really. But
it's just the easiest way to keep control of what is theirs, essentially.
Yeah.
They want complete control, and what better way than to completely own your gimmick?
Yeah, exactly. So when you leave WWE, you don't leave with all the work that they've done into that gimmick, and you don't leave with all the money that they've put into trying to get that gimmick over. It's basically a fail-safe for them. So I don't know whether the original Sin Cara, just for the references, we're going to call him Mystico. That's probably the better way to do it.
Yeah.
But for all intents and purposes, I don't know. Maybe if he thinks his contract's wrong, or maybe he's right. Maybe we're wrong, and he was able to wangle that into his contract. That he has control of the gimmick. The reason why I think otherwise, the fact they're still using the character on TV, WWE obviously must be very, very sure that they are right in this. That they have all the legal loopholes sewn up nice and tight, and they can use Sin Cara on TV.
Yeah.
And you mean Sin Cara was on this week's Raw, so that obviously shows you how much they think of the risk of using him on TV. They're obviously going to. So, interesting there. That, like I said, there's going to be a lawsuit. We know it's going to happen from either party, whether he continues to use the gimmick and WWE sue him, or maybe he sues WWE because he thinks he's right, or maybe he is right, like we said. We don't know about this, but I highly...
Well, isn't Sin Cara WWE's thing anyway? He was Mystico up until he joined WWE.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's part of the reason why I think that WWE wanted him to create the new gimmick, is so... he obviously had the rights to Mystico going into the company, so WWE, obviously... The way I would look at it, obviously want them to make a new gimmick for him so they can have control over that character.
Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously proved lucrative to them from here on out. I mean, just going into the actual Scooby Doo thing, Sin Cara actually is a large part of that, and it is the original Sin Cara that's actually in there.
Yeah. I wouldn't know, but yeah.
Yeah, well, my wife pointed it out to me as she was walking in. She was like, obviously, is that the original Sin Cara? And I didn't even think of it, but he doesn't have the tattoo. So, for all intents and purposes, the
original.
The original's on
there. He's
yeah.
Mystico.
So, there you are. So, yeah, interesting about this. Obviously, it's a bit of a shame, really, that it couldn't work out between Mystico and WWE, but I just think it was two different styles that clashed into each other, really. That's pretty much what happened here. So, there is rumours going around backstage. Initially, it was that Rob Van Dam was going to make a scheduled appearance at WrestleMania, obviously in the Battle Royal. He wasn't going to exactly be showing up in the WWE title match. But apparently that's been not exactly nixed. It wasn't ever going to happen. The likeliness is that he's going to return the night after WrestleMania, which is obviously the Raw after. Which kind of sucks for him, but... obviously that seems to be the plan, the consensus. There still is a chance that Rob Van Dam could still return at WrestleMania. I'm not ruling that out.
He could still turn up. I think he could still turn up in the Battle Royale. If he's sort of meant to make his main full debut the night after, then he could be a guest appearance in the Royale.
Yeah. I mean, the thing I would say about it, right, is that when you've got the Battle Royal, it's not like the Royal Rumble. You're not having guys come in and you get the big shocks. They're all in the ring at the same time. So,
is it going to be that sort of...
Well, I imagine so, yeah.
Can they fit 30 people in that ring?
Yeah.
Well, they can. I know that, but... Can they really do anything? It's like, everyone, shuffle left, shuffle right, jump, there we go, and make it look like stuff's
I think you can imagine there's going to be a lot of, Zack Ryder's in that Rumble, so you can imagine he'd get eliminated pretty damn quickly.
Yeah, okay. But the entirety of 3MB.
Yeah, exactly. So there's going to be some quick eliminations. The Battle Royal is going to open up pretty quickly, I imagine. But... having Rob Van Dam in, that doesn't give you the shock factor, because obviously they're all coming in the ring at the same time. So, that being said, to get the big pop of him returning, then that would have to be on Raw. But it means that he will not... I think, personally, that he will be on Raw. I don't see him coming back at WrestleMania, because it would just be a bigger pop. I mean, come on, the Raw after WrestleMania is almost like its own pay-per-view at this point.
It's always huge,
You could do that as a pay-per-view, and people willingly buy it at this point. The last bit of news this week, as always, there are other news, but these are the most interesting ones that we think that I personally think that me and Matt can have a good conversation about. Vince McMahon had an interview with Forbes magazine, the financial magazine, talking legitimately about his wealth and his money. He said in the interview that he dislikes other rich people, that he doesn't get on with them very well, and how he will die a frustrated man because he didn't accomplish all that he wanted to in his life. It's a kind of a testament to Vince McMahon as a person. This guy is very driven to succeed, and it doesn't matter. It's not just in wrestling; it's about any sort of project that he does. And he's always got a project going. Obviously, that's the way that Vince McMahon is. You can tell that, just from looking for the guy's mannerisms, and he's driven to succeed and to be the number one. And he was willing to burn a lot of companies to get to that point, especially in his early type of career.
He's definitely one to sort of fight to get where he wishes to be, sort of thing.
Yeah,
especially he has this sort of mentality. Was loads of people are just like, it can't be done. It's like, oh, I want to get rid of the territories and just have one brand. It's like, it can't be done. And now look where WWE is today.
Yeah, exactly.
And just sort of everything he's done is like, oh, I want to conquer networks. And now that WWE have their network.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's all sort of bigger things. And it's like, he's definitely one to seek the challenge.
Yeah. He's not content in having WWE just as number one. He wants to dominate, and that's the only way that he wants it. I mean, I think Paul Heyman said it best in the interview. This is before he came back to WWE. But there was rumours of the time of Paul Heyman going to TNA, and he did an interview about it. And he basically said that, with TNA being as weak as they were as a brand, and they still are. We'll talk a little bit more about it at the end of the podcast a little bit TNA, because they did catch a show of those. But yeah, he said that you're not going to ever take even 1% off of the market out of Vince McMahon's grasp. You're gonna have to just take it out of his hand. You're not going to be able to he's not going to give it to you. You know what I mean? He's not going to do anything to you. He's going to make you, not even going to make you work for it. He's going to destroy your company. That's what he wants to do.
Yeah.
That's the way he is, and hell, that's why he's probably so rich right now. So, he's built quite the dynasty for himself.
Hell, look at Paul Heyman's probably the best person to say that. It's like, look at ECW.
Yeah. All the other.
It's like they're going to, especially considering ECW wasn't necessarily. ECW would never have overtaken WWE in the ratings in any fashion. No. But they were getting big.
They were getting a cult
and Vince basically went, no, I'm not having this. Buy it.
Yeah, buy all the talent out, and that's what you did as well. You bought all the talent because there was some good talent to have there, and obviously when the time came that WCW was failing, he bought it on the cheap. I mean, if you actually look for how much he bought WCW for, it wasn't the talent really that he purchased it for. It was for the tape library. That's what essentially he bought it for, and it was for loose change at that point. I mean, WCW in its heyday, if you would have had to have bought it back in the height of the NWO, you would have needed a lot of cash to buy that company, but Vince McMahon bought it for little to nothing when it was at its death. So yeah, if you can't beat it, buy it. That's the way it goes. I mean, he did beat
McMahon's thing,
yeah. And he stands tall right now in regards to that. There was other stuff in the interview, so if you're interested about that, I mean, it's not that much interesting in terms of wrestling. It's more talking about business acumen and just generally wealth in general. So not exactly something that I can connect to. Having large sums of money. But there we are. The guy's obviously a driven individual.
Do you want to hear about a rich guy talking about being a rich guy?
Yeah. I thought it was quite interesting. He said that he dislikes other rich people. I get that from McMahon. I don't think he wants to know that there's anyone out there more successful than him. He'd much rather think he's the best. And that's the way he likes it.
Sort of play up to the fact that he believes he's top dog.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He won't ever like to mingle with the likes of Bill Gates. With all the huge wealth that guy has, and among other people. So on to the actual Raw review this week. Just before we go on as well, if you have any questions to ask us about the news, just leave a comment. And
there's one little thing actually that I've dug out, and I don't. It would appear, our superstar, our superstar spotlight that we did last week.
Oh, on Christian, yes.
It appears we may be right.
Well, that he's due to retire quite soon.
He's due to retire.
Yeah.
There's been apparently a lot of talk backstage. I mean, especially recently with him coming down with a concussion.
Yes.
That he's now very prone, essentially sort of prone to injury, but sort of
Well, he's had a lengthy career, hasn't he, Christian?
We
went through this last week, and anyone that's been in the ring that long, you look at Edge, you may not even realise that the injuries are mounting up in your body before it gets too late.
Yeah.
I mean, Edge cut it really fine. He was literally on the brink of not being able to walk if he rested just a couple of more matches. So.
Well, that's it. It's sort of, I mean, that's what Edge got given. They were like, one more match, and that could be the end of you. It's like, I was about to go out that night. I'm champion.
Yeah. And I mean, him and Edge's career ended in a storied fashion. The fact that he defended the title successfully at WrestleMania, that was his last match in his career. You can't get much bigger than that, really. But yeah, with Christian, I think the idea is that when he eventually retires, and it may be sooner rather than later, I don't see him being involved in anything bigger. That's what we said last week. We don't see him getting any bigger than he is now. That he'll probably end up being maybe a backstage agent or being.
I reckon agent. Yeah.
There is a role back there for him with all the stuff he's been through and everything.
Yeah, that's it. And WWE is not a company to just throw people away when they're done. I mean, I took some of your advice and I listened to the Talk Is Jericho podcast with the concussion expert.
Oh, Chris Nowinski, yes.
Chris Nowinski, that's it. I was about to say Chris Harvard, but yeah, and sort of like they were even at 24 and like only just come out of Tough Enough. WWE was still just like, we're not going to let you go. We'll keep you around.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, you know, WWE, especially nowadays, maybe before about 2 years ago, they would have been pretty quick just to get rid of you. But nowadays, it seems like they actually want to monopolize the wrestling talent market. They want people to be on their books. They've got a lot of wrestlers and you know, agents and backstage workers and trainers.
That's it. Everyone's just like, well, having a Finley, he's backstage.
Yeah.
You see him come out from time to time.
Yeah, and for a ring stalwart like Christian, you've seen a lot in his career, and a guy that hasn't really ruffled that many feathers backstage. You know, he's done. Yeah. You know, it was almost like Kane in that fashion, that he hasn't. You know, he's not showing up bad for the wrong reasons. You know, there is a place for him in that sense. So we know the likes of Kane is definitely going to get, you know, backstage work after their career.
Yeah,
because there's just so much experience there to bank on. And man, get this guy to just work with the tag teams on the roster, and then you've got a guy who's just was part of one of the best tag teams in the world.
That's it. Or someone who essentially who brought the tag team division back.
Yeah, definitely. And get him to work on there, and then that's only going to do great strides for your tag division, which has been, I think, quite well rebuilt over the last year or 18 months. Especially with the likes of the Shield rising up, and then you've got the Usos, and you know, there's a lot of teams out there now, which is good.
Brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anything else that you want to add on?
No, that was literally it.
Cool. Actually, before we go into Raw, I wanted to talk about TNA, because I probably will forget about it. I caught TNA. It was actually last week's TNA, so, you know, so technically a 2-week-old episode of TNA Impact. I actually watched it. It was just on, and I thought, why not? Let's give this a watch. I've got a couple of hours spare. And there was a few things I want to pick up on this show, one of which is, what the hell is Jeff Hardy thinking? He revealed his new gimmick, which was, I know you revealed it before, but this was his first proper real promo as Willow, and it is hilariously awful.
I just watched his Lockdown debut.
Yeah, it is horrible.
Even then, I was just like, what the fuck?
It just seems to me, and you know, feel free to disagree if you like, but it seems to me that he's trying to tap into what Bray Wyatt has on WWE, but he's just not nearly talented enough on, you know, to actually pull that off. He's just not. It comes off looking really silly. It looks like coming off like a bad B movie, horror movie, where the guy's not actually scary. It's more funny than, you know what I mean? You know, it came off like that.
Yeah.
So that was one thing. If that's the height of Jeff Hardy, then I guess we're not really missing him much, not being in WWE. Overall, I mean, I guess some of it was interesting. I think the overall theme with TNA, the reason I don't like it, is that it comes off as like it's almost like it's not polished enough. The production values aren't there. It looks subservice to the likes of WWE, and I know that, you know, that's not exactly. It wouldn't be a problem if they were, you know, giving an alternate style, or maybe really edgy product apart from that, but it looks like they're trying to do what WWE's doing, but they can't quite pull it off. And I mean, it was quite evident on this show that's what they were trying to do, sort of thing.
So almost like you see it as TNA look almost too indie?
No, it looks like it's almost like they're trying to be WWE, but they don't have the production value of WWE, which I know is really hard to match, but it makes it look. It doesn't make it look as. It makes it look like there's not a lot of people that. And my wife watched this with me as well, and they didn't exactly hide the fact that only half the arena was filled. They didn't hide that fact very well.
You'd want to like reposition cameras just to like focus on the full side of things. Like, I'm pretty sure WWE, granted they don't have to because they always pull about an 18,000 crowd.
Yeah,
but the fixed camera is always in one place.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And it always looks out on the side that they fill first.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, the problem is with that is that fair enough. If they do it and they hide it where it looks like the arena's packed, that's fine. But the camera work wasn't that great here. We saw bits of the arena that weren't covered. We knew the arena was empty. You could just know that. And when these guys are pulling off promos and they're looking at empty seats, you know that. But obviously TNA are trying to pull the illusion that they're talking to another side of the crowd. It looks really bad. So, yeah, that was my thoughts about TNA. I wasn't that impressed, and with the whole Jeff Hardy thing just made me laugh. And there is a fine line with those gimmicks. If Bray Wyatt didn't do it so superbly as he has done, then it could have been the same, but he didn't. He pulled it off fantastically, and that's the big difference. It's either going to be great or it's going to just be funny for all the wrong reasons.
But I don't remember the last time it was, but I think I actually gave TNA a chance. I occasionally do. I occasionally sort of, because over here in the UK we get it on Challenge.
Yeah.
And every now and then I'm sort of like, there's nothing on, and I'm flicking through the channels late at night, and it's like, oh, TNA. It's wrestling. At the end of the day, I am a fan of wrestling.
Yeah.
I can't do it.
No.
Sometimes I just like, no. Yeah. 10 minutes in or something, it's like, no.
Yeah. The one thing I didn't like about it as well, I mean, like, this goes into... I mean, listen, I've watched shows, I've watched free online pay-per-views, that because it looks independent and looks indie, you take it for what it is. But because TNA are trying to be the next WWE rival, they can't match with those performance, with the production value. And when they do these backstage segments and things look really blurry and it doesn't look like it's staged very well, and they're just doing it randomly in the back halls, and
I tend to think that most backstage sections that I've seen off TNA look almost like a bad Shield promo.
Yeah, it does. It looks like a really bad soap. You know what I mean? And that just degrades the show, in my opinion. Anyway, I'm sure there's some TNA fans that like it.
Oh, well, you mean like sort of parts on like sitcoms and things like that, where the moment it's inside and on set it looks fine, but the moment it's set to outside, it's like it looks shocking.
Yeah. I mean, you see this like in the likes of Friends and stuff. Yeah, it's always like when they're in the apartments or the coffee shop. Everything looks fine, but as soon as they start stepping outside into random places, then the camera quality goes a bit down. They do that as well here, which when they do that in WWE, everything's in pristine HD, it looks gorgeous, you know what I mean? And, I mean, they can afford to do that. But when you're trying so hard to be the WWE rival, it just doesn't come off too well. And just for reference as well, they had like an opening segment here of Eric Young and Abyss having a fight. Wow, that wasted a lot of my time. Fair enough, if you want to lay the guy out, do it, but the segment lasted like 15 minutes, and it was just okay. It was a really poor start to the show.
I think the problem I had was the last time I saw it, I watched it, like it was EC3 giving a promo, and all I can see is Bateman.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm EC3, I'm Dixie Carter's cousin. You're Derek Bateman.
And he's one of the top stars in that company, and at WWE.
And that says a lot, doesn't it? And WWE just went, Derek, go away. We don't even want you anymore. We're not even going to keep you. Just go away.
There's one guy I'll always enjoy watching in TNA, that's Samoa Joe.
Definitely. I don't know, I do like some of their guys, like Matt Morgan, Christopher Daniels and things like that.
Matt Morgan's gone now anyway, so...
Yeah, well, yeah, but... I mean, at the time, but you had like Matt Morgan, you got Chris. AJ Styles is now gone, but he's good.
They had some talent there. They
had talent.
They do. But, it's just.
I mean, I look at Abyss and I just think bad Mankind.
Yeah, he's all right, Abyss. I mean, I saw him before, and his new mask, I think, is just really bad. I don't like his new mask. It seems like a cheap rip-off of Caden's mask, to be honest. But
probably.
I mean, I don't want to drown out too much on TNA. We don't talk about much TNA on the podcast, but
this is why.
It's generally negative because we're not big fans of it. If they were what, let's say, what ECW was back in the day, even if they don't have to be extreme like that, but the way that ECW portrayed themselves is that they were the edgy alternative, that they could give you something that WWE never could. But TNA want to be WWE. That's what they aspire to be.
They want to be WWE, but the thing is, they try and push on the same sort of talent. Like what ECW did was they relied on, well, none of our guys are particularly good wrestlers.
They're not as gifted as the...
They're not as gifted. But what can they do? Well, they're not scared of they're not scared to bleed. Yeah. Well, let's play on that.
Yeah, let's build a whole like
they're not. They're more than happy to go swinging a weapon. Cool.
Yeah, they can give you the shock factor that WWE never could, and that's why they prospered during that time. But obviously, I personally think TNA will eventually just fade away, especially with the likes of Jeff Jarrett no longer in control of things back there. I mean, this is the guy that gave birth to TNA. This was his little baby, and he's gone. If you feel that badly about it, then there's something seriously wrong with what's going on there. And you hear horror stories.
Yeah, I mean, if someone who birthed the whole thing and then suddenly just like, no, I give up on it.
Yeah. Now I'm going to try and catch a few more episodes and talk a bit more about this, but god damn, if that's all that Jeff Hardy's got to give me nowadays, then I am not jumping on that bandwagon. That was shockingly bad. It's one of the worst promos I have seen for its intended purpose. It was just shocking. It really was. And MVP's trying to sell it as if it's the most freaky thing he's ever seen, and I'm laughing my head off. I really am.
To be fair, it's not like Jeff Hardy is renowned for being the best promo guy.
That's it. And he tries to be, that's the problem, and it doesn't really, go off that well. He is no Bray Wyatt on the mic. Let's just say that. He can't pull that gimmick off. So. Right, we'll finally get to our Raw review. I think this is the longest time we've actually got from the start of the podcast to the Raw review. Wow.
Really dragged this one out to get to Raw.
Exactly. So, Raw this week emanated from the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. Big crowds, decent crowd here on this show, as you would expect from Brooklyn.
Good vocal crowd, yeah.
Yeah. Just as a foreclosure, if obviously you watched the show, then you would have realised there was absolutely no Daniel Bryan at all on this show after his beating from Triple H last week. If you remember the very uncomfortable.
To be perfectly honest, that was expected. I would have been shocked if Daniel Bryan was there.
I wouldn't have been as shocked if he was, but they certainly seemed to build it up as if maybe he was going to come in at the end and take out Triple H while he wasn't looking for. Maybe they're saving that for just before WrestleMania, and in that case, I would kind of agree with them for that. You want that big sort of go home show to Mania to be the one to sell that pay-per-view, and you want Bryan that you're going to try and make all the factors going in.
You want Bryan probably running down guns blazing sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. To build up to the match, and that's the way you go it. So, Stephanie McMahon actually kicked off the show, which is quite odd. I mean, we're quite used to both members of the Authority, Stephanie McMahon and Triple H coming down together, but it was just her. And I actually kind of forgot how good Stephanie McMahon can be as a heel, if she decides she wants to be, sort of thing.
Definitely.
I mean, sometimes she can be really, really fucking annoying, but I mean, sometimes, more often than not, she can be actually pretty good. I mean, Triple H himself is actually quite. I mean, just like Triple H, I think being a heel fits her far more than being a face, and you can see that when she's on NXT, and she's technically a face on NXT, so is Triple H. But when they're a face on there, it doesn't seem to fit her that well. But when she's a heel, by God, she just loves it. And she goes all out, and fair play to her. She basically spoke a lot about the stuff last week, and spoke about Daniel Bryan, saying he wasn't going to be there.
Because he's not medically cleared.
He's not medically cleared, yeah. Which you'd expect from the beating he got anyway. Orton interfered in this. Nicely asked to have Triple H removed from the title picture. As nicely as you could possibly do it. It's almost like he was firmly placing his tongue upon her butthole, as we say here on LTW. I think he would have enjoyed that quite a lot if he actually did that.
Yeah.
He always seems like he's got a raging hard-on for Stephanie whenever he's in the ring with her.
Yeah.
Which would be quite awkward. Batista came down also. Didn't really give that much time to Orton to speak. Now, this is one of the things. In the last week...
at this point, I wish some of the sound guys got fired.
Okay, go on.
Did you not notice there was just that lot of mic problems at that point?
Oh yeah,
with Batista.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, but there was a lot of mic problems with that, wasn't there? But hey, it happens every now and then, I guess. You can't really help it. The machines, man. So
they failed us.
But one of the things I made in my notes here: go back a month, Matt, and watch every segment that either involves Batista or Randy Orton, and wait until one of the the other one comes out. They just don't have any time without each other nowadays, do they? Which is the way that it goes for them. But Batista had a few mic issues, as we said. But we didn't really miss anything. He just kind of said everything that he said since he came back to the company. He made a reference to the fact that obviously, that as you said before, that Orton has almost like the raging hard-on for Stephanie McMahon. So yeah, I mean, like we said before, with the whole Orton thing, but what Batista did here is that he made the almost what seems like the obligatory Steph insult whenever someone's in the ring, and she is. He basically said along the lines of that he thinks that Steph's been drooled on a lot, which to me doesn't seem really on par with the sort of insults that one Chris Jericho was spilling out in his heyday towards Stephanie.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's like, you've been drooled on. It's like, what? What are you implying? It's just like, my dog drooled on me. It's just like, it just slobbered a bit.
It was it was the most PG step insult you could possibly get.
Yeah.
Just go back, and anyone who's maybe new to wrestling in general and doesn't know a lot of the stuff that happened prior, maybe 2005, just go back and look at some of the insults that Jericho used on Stephanie, and you realise just how lame this is in comparison. But it's still got the design effects. A lot of people were still giving the oohs and everything. She slapped Batista, and then Batista responded in spearing Orton.
That's because Orton laughed.
Yeah, exactly. He found this whole thing hilarious, Orton. He wasn't laughing that much after the spear. The one thing I did make a note here is that if you actually take Steph out of this promo, it probably would have been one of those boring and tame starts to Raw in recent weeks. Orton and Batista in the ring, they've basically done the same spiel that they've done the last month. Listen, these guys are just bodies for whoever, for Daniel Bryan getting in and winning the title. We know that, so it doesn't matter what these guys.
Well, that's it. I mean, I think between the pair of them, you could pretty much just script it anyway. It's like, I want my title. I'm here for the title. It's like, but you're not going to get it because I'm the champion. Blah 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 blah.
Cookie cutter as you can get, really, isn't it, with the whole thing?
Yeah.
So, yeah. But Steph, in this promo, I thought she was brilliant, and she did very well. And like I said, it kind of reminded me how good she can be on occasion. She can be pretty bad at times as well, but she's pretty good here. The first match on the show was Del Rio, Ziggler, Christian, and Sheamus. In a fatal four-way match. We have not had one of these on Raw for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me of when they tried to do the fatal four-way pay-per-view, which kind of tanked, if you remember that.
Nope.
In the ratings. The winner was...
Oh, hang on. Yeah, I do remember.
This is ages ago now. I think they ditched the fatal four-way pay-per-view now anyway. The winner of this got the Intercontinental title shot on main event. And WWE are putting a lot of stock in main event since the network launched. You're seeing,
of course, they could put stock in main event, considering they can have they can do it live.
Exactly, yeah. And I mean, they had Undertaker on there this week, and
that's it.
Obviously, had this particular title. They've had a lot of title matches on their main event. I don't think any of them would change hands, but there's still a lot of title matches.
But it's been there. Yeah, the matches have been there.
Exactly. So, just a few notes about this match. The match itself was brilliant. It was very, very good.
As far as Fatal 4-Ways go, I struggle. I wouldn't say I struggle watching Fatal 4-Ways, but I generally don't enjoy them.
Sometimes it can be a bit of a clusterfuck at times, isn't it? If it's not built well. This, however, was very good. All these guys got a good showing here. Del Rio botched his springboard kick, which just reminded me of if you remember the hilarious bucket miss that he had when Big Show was a heel. This is last year, and you have to do it twice, and it was a little bit like Big Show was just holding up the bucket for a good minute while Del Rio was trying to hit him with his kick and landing and missing, and Big Show was like, oh, nothing's there, obviously, and it's just it's super silly, but it's not the first time he's botched that kick. Christian gets the win. He was probably the least.
The thing is, I was quite shocked with this match is the fact that Big E wasn't on commentary. He just sat there. I was just like.
I think the last couple of times he's been on commentary, he hasn't exactly impressed at all.
I'd rather see him on commentary than just nothing. He's just like, Big E's here.
That's your opinion.
Look at Big E watching a match. He was like, cool.
Personally, I mean, I know Big E is actually, he actually is all right on the mic. He's not as bad as he has been on the roster, and he's not really that bad. But personally, I think I would have preferred him just sitting out there. That's just me, though. But each to their own. Just a little note about this match. Christian, as we said, he did suffer the slight concussion, so he didn't actually compete in that title match. Ziggler took his place.
Did you spot, however, when that concussion was struck?
I didn't know.
See, now I don't know. It's just it looked like a proper that must have been it. Christian hit a sit-out powerbomb.
Okay. I remember that, yeah.
Del Rio basically came up behind him and kicked him in the back of the head.
Oh, do you think that's where he got it? Oh, okay.
Quite possibly, I reckon. Possibly. It looked like a very stiff kick.
Yeah, there was...
And the only problem is, why is Del Rio still allowed to do that?
What, after he can cut... What?
Because he's done that kick to the head quite a few times.
Yeah.
Quite a few times it's been safe.
Yeah.
He has caused quite a few concussions with it as well.
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to tell how much damage he's done with it, and I mean, it's a very impactful kick and gets a lot of things. I mean, a lot of people get confused. This kick wasn't the one that actually concussed Ziggler. It was actually Jack Swagger's hoof to the face that concussed Ziggler all that time ago. But we don't know about that yet, and let's face it, doesn't really matter because Del Rio, I don't think he's long for the company, personally. I don't think he's going to be around.
Rumours have it he's not.
Yeah. But, I mean, in the actual match where Ziggler faced Big E for the belt on main event, he lost. Big E retained the title.
Yeah.
As you would expect, they're not going to change any belts before WrestleMania. And there is no... I mean, Big E's in the 30-man Battle Royal, so, I mean, the IC title won't be defended on WrestleMania. Again, I mean, its actual...
Anyway, yeah.
Its actual defense rate over the last 10 WrestleManias is shocking. I think it went like 7 WrestleManias without being defended, and then it's gone off being defended again, so...
Yeah.
Not exactly great on the IC title. I mean, the US title isn't that much better anyway, so...
None of the well, I say the mid-card titles are any good nowadays as it is, but we'll touch that on later.
That's our topic.
Subject.
Yeah. We had another brilliant Wyatt promo that followed this match. As usual, I mean, we can go into why. We obviously talked a lot about how good...
I just notes, just awesome as always, and I left it at that.
It's like almost one of the most sure things in Raw every week. You're going to get a great Bray Wyatt promo, and this is the same. Yeah. It basically set up the Harper-Cena match. Harper had a lot to say during this promo as well.
Yeah, that's true.
And Harper and Cena have been wrestling each other. They wrestled each other, I think, on SmackDown. But they apparently had a great match on SmackDown. They did have a match on this show as well, so we'll talk about that as it comes in.
Yep.
Sin Cara against Damien Sandow was the next match. Basically, this was a gigantic advertisement for Scooby Doo's Wrestlemania.
Because he was there, yeah.
The Mystery Machine itself brought out Sin Cara, of all people. Now, I thought it was quite ironic that Scooby Doo was actually taller than Sin Cara. I thought that was quite funny.
Yeah.
Now, this actually does make a little bit of sense. It does seem really odd, but if you've watched the movie, like I did with my daughter this week, Sin Cara is actually Scooby Doo's favourite wrestler, apparently, in the movie, so I guess that makes a little bit of sense.
Oh, okay, yeah, now that makes sense to me now.
Yeah, but it does.
Like, I now understand that.
Yeah, but the fact is they didn't show any clips of the actual thing of him doing that, so I mean, it seems odd, doesn't it? I mean, to anyone that doesn't buy
at least Hunico can do that proper over-the-top rope entrance.
Yeah, exactly. Which Cara does in the movie itself as well.
I've seen that bit. Yeah. I saw that bit in trailers.
This match was horrible. It was really, really bad.
This is the closest you get to a high-flying squash match.
It was, wasn't it? I mean, Sandow was falling pretty hard to be a squash for Sin Cara. I mean, I thought I'd never see that day. It was a very quick match, and it was essentially just done. It was not good at all. This match, and it's not really worthy of talking about it because it was that poor. There was a few really poor matches on this show. And it really kind of went downhill from that fatal 4-way at the start of the show. There wasn't much better than that on the rest of the show, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Next match, we were treated to Los Matadores against Rybaxel.
Mm-hmm.
We see Matadores after weeks of inactivity. Not that we particularly missed the guys, but...
the Olay, but... Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the Olay team. Great.
It was a shit match. It was not very good.
It wasn't a match.
It wasn't a match at all, really, was it? Yeah, like you said.
Because the most devastating move ever struck.
Yes. Which, of course,
thanks to a distraction, but...
The roll-up pin. I mean, man, if Brock Lesnar, breaks out against Undertaker, we've got a streak beating at WrestleMania. That roll-up pin... Jesus Christ.
Just gone.
The amount of wrestlers that's put down. Very impressive.
That's it.
So, yeah.
The thing is, before this match, there was that little video of, like, looking back, let's look back on SmackDown. I kind of wanted to watch SmackDown now. Because, like, the Shield got their ass kicked.
Yeah, it was quite interesting. They're going to do that more. SmackDown's going to get a little bit more relevant as WrestleMania goes round, but after WrestleMania, it'll just go to being irrelevant again. It really is.
No, that's it.
Now, yes, as you said, the Shield came in for the destruction. The Shield are pretty much on a mission to destroy everyone that destroyed them on SmackDown. Their first mission was Rybaxel. I think it's quite funny, Rybaxel in that tag team match, and they're still losing matches at WrestleMania. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
think it's a tag team. Thank you for the help.
Yeah.
But now we have some sort of awkward, like, fatal 4-way tag match.
Well, I'm going to talk a little bit more on that as the tag match later comes up. But that's going to be quite. I've got a few things to say about that actually, which is not going to be entirely positive, in fact, quite negative. But the Shield proceeded anyway, basically give Ryback what he did back when the Shield first came in, triple power bombing him in entertaining fashion. The laxative is done.
That's it.
Destroyed by the Shield. I'm sure there's a joke there. I'll let the listeners come up with that. The pieces are there, guys. You piece it together for us. Go on.
That's it.
We had one of the things that you may have been seeing actually over the last couple of weeks on WWE.com. Each week it's Michael Cole and Triple H do like a sit-down interview.
Yep.
This time they decided to do it in the ring. And obviously they've been doing these sit-down interviews to kind of build up towards Triple H's rivalry with Daniel Bryan and the WrestleMania match. So it makes sense that you have the big payoff here.
Yeah.
Triple H cut a very good promo about... I mean, this guy loves being heel. He said he was going to start the reality era. And, there was a lot of people, dreaming of Daniel Bryan winning and a lot of whiners. And I thought a particularly great line was, why don't you go send him a tweet about all the things that you hate? I thought that was quite funny. Because you probably do have a lot of wrestling diehard. Like that guy that you keep spamming to me on his videos that takes wrestling just a little bit too seriously. Probably sending just a bunch of tweets to Triple H.
Jericho, the most overrated wrestler ever. Oh dear. Okay. Well, the thing I liked is during this promo, like they had the little flashback, and I didn't notice this last week, but that was the blatant headshot. When I didn't notice it at the time, but it was when they sort of blacked it out during the replay this week, when Bryan was sort of laying out and his head was next to the ring post, and they obviously went for the head. Obviously, ring post taking all the damage, but they blacked that out, and it's just like, oh my god, naughty Triple H. But then he's COO, so I guess he can afford the 10k fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the rules don't apply to him. Damn it.
So screw the rules. I have money.
Yeah, that's funny.
It's a good.
Yeah.
Huh?
Talking about the Forbes magazine interview, talking about money, I'm sure Triple H has got a pretty dollar. Now, a lot of people may hate Triple H. We did a Superstar Spotlight and we talked about some of the things that we dislike him and other people dislike him. Like him or hate him, the guy is a good heel. You can't take that away from him.
Definitely.
And when he wants to, like I said...
he raised very good arguments on this one. It's just sort of like, but you shouldn't have done it. It was like, but are you seeing... But it depends how you see me. Like, am I the COO? Or is it the fact that now we're going to be having a match? Am I now a competitor? As a competitor, I was well within my rights.
Yeah. Exactly, and he made some valid points. The fact that back in the day, the likes of Austin would do exactly the same thing, and people would cheer for it and wouldn't have a problem with it. And I like the fact that sometimes WWE points the finger at the face commentators and just says, "Well, you're just as biased as anyone else because you look behind it, all the stuff that the faces do at times, and you would call that
that's
wrong."
it.
So yeah, I mean this whole segment here basically set up what is essentially the backbone of WrestleMania 30. Without this rivalry and what will come out after it to kind of save the championship match, the WrestleMania event would actually be quite poor. We've said this before though.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But I mean, this was a good promo from Triple H. I quite enjoyed it, and there may be another one maybe next week, and that's when Daniel Bryan comes back and takes the pain train to Triple H, and that'll be the final. Set up to their match, and it's all about that payoff. This particular rivalry, it's all about getting Daniel Bryan that big huge payoff and getting all the fans to go home at WrestleMania 30 nice and happy.
That's it.
From there on.
It would just be a real middle finger to the crowd if it's literally sort of like the moment Triple H wins that opening match, like you just half expect to see most of the crowd literally just go fuck this and just leave.
Yeah. They can't do that. If they do that, man, there will be a riot. They really was.
Definitely.
I think the entire internet wrestling community would just die and melt down, and
especially at Mania, where Mania is full of the IWC.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, if Mania isn't going to be the area you do your payoff, then just what is? There's no point.
Yeah.
Have you got anything else to say about that particular promo? Or?
Oh, really? It was a damn good promo, really.
It served its purpose. we had Cody Rhodes versus Fandango. This is leading off the Goldust match that happened last time. I just want to know, where the hell did this rivalry come from? Why do they suddenly not like each other?
I don't know. I don't. I think it might just be just luck of the draw, just like because Goldust had a match last week with Fandango for no reason. For no reason other than who's going to give him a match.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, this is WWE booking when it goes bad. I mean, they do this a lot. They just give you random matches with no meaning, and the match itself isn't exactly a stunner. It doesn't really get you.
Well, I don't know. I think the whole well, not necessarily Goldust dancing in the face of Summer Rae, but the week previous where sort of Cody made the catch and Summer Rae was all like, "Oh, Cody."
Yeah.
It might play something into it.
Well, yeah, I think maybe you're looking. I
think I'm looking too far into it. Other than Cody's going to be
where there is none.
Yeah, like Cody's got to be down there for a reason. Let's just have that happen.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, WWE do this a lot. There'll just be random matches with no meaning. We know this.
It's just filler.
Really. And I mean, this match was nothing else but that. Rhodes got the win. Summer Rae twisted her ankle during a dance battle with Goldust.
Goldust will always be able to make me laugh.
Yeah.
That was brilliant.
He's good at that, yeah. JBL made just the worst insider wrestling joke ever, saying that Summer Rae caught her heel and Fandango is a heel. It was just a little bit like...
Yeah, that was just like faux...
Yeah.
It was like a proper faux pas. Like, if kayfabe was around, he'd be slaughtered.
Yeah. But even then, like, it just wasn't a funny joke. And I think that...
it just fell on deaf ears. Just like, I heard it and I was just like, oh dear.
Sometimes JBL knocks him out of the park.
It's like, you're not king. You don't make terrible jokes.
Yeah. You make good jokes, JBL. What are you doing?
John, no, you failed us.
He went over to the dark side. That's it. Yeah. So we had the Hulk Hogan made his bi-weekly appearance on Raw.
Yep.
He's on Raw 1 week, off the next. Seems to be the way it goes. I expect him probably to be on next week's Raw, though, just because it's so close to WrestleMania.
Yeah.
So he introduced Arnold Schwarzenegger and Joe Manganiello. Sorry, I probably...
I put him as Schwarzenegger and the other guy.
Okay.
I recognise him.
I
don't know where from.
He's in True Blood.
I don't watch True Blood.
He's in a few other things as well.
He was in Enemy Lines Columbia.
Really?
I watched... They mentioned it. Oh. They mentioned him being on other films, and I was like, I did watch that for about half an hour.
They couldn't take any more.
I couldn't handle it. It was literally like you used to live around the same area as I did. As I do now. Mm. Behind the houses here is a massive wood. Yeah?
Yeah.
It looked like Behind Enemy Lines Columbia was shot over there. It's literally like there's this big barren bit, and it's like, yeah, let's just erect a chain link fence and put a box in it, and that's a building. And, like, let's go storm it.
With all of their $1,000 budget or something.
Pretty much, yeah. Oh, God. But I still don't recognise... But I didn't see enough nor care enough for that film to recognise him. But just like, you look familiar, but I have no idea who you are.
I think his career is doing okay. We're not exactly pulling off the fact his career is bad or anything.
He's in a Schwarzenegger film.
Exactly, yeah. And I know that film was actually
he had the decency to high-five fans. Just Arnold was just like, I'm Arnie. I'm not going to touch you. Just walk down the middle, doing almost like a royalty wave.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. This whole segment, however... this is probably the best way I can describe it. Was a 3-way butthole licking contest. It was just everyone going, yeah, I'm in with Arnie, I'm in with Hogan's, I'm in with Arnie,
like the best action star, and Joe Manganiello, and it's like whatever the hell his name is, and it's like, look at him, he's so cool, and there's just Arnie, just like, look at Hogan with his abs, with his triceps, it's a real thing. It's just like, oh god,
yeah.
Really. It's like it's just the way he was like, Andre the Giant was like my favourite wrestler. It's like, no, he wasn't. You probably don't even know who Andre the Giant is. It's like, I was friends with him. It's like, I'm not buying it.
Show me a picture, Arnie. Come on, we need a little bit more. So when Miz came out to stop this segment, it wasn't a horrible segment anyway. It was a little bit.
There was no mention of Chopper. It was a failed segment.
Oh, okay. In your eyes, it was a failed segment. But yeah, Miz came out anyway and said that Arnie and Joe have no place in the Battle Royal at Mania, which they asked to have a place in, which Hogan was ready and willing, brother, to give them a slot inside of it. I just think Arnie getting like a choke slam off of Big Show would be
well, considering he provided the most phantom strike ever, I'd hate to have seen him in the Battle Royal.
The bitch slap that never was sort of thing, yeah.
Yeah.
There was like basically Miz kind of run his mouth and essentially
what
you would expect.
Miz fashion.
Yeah.
And apparently people are still talking about WrestleMania 27 when he headlined it. No. I'm not.
I used to refer to him as the body at that match. He wasn't really there because he was good. He was there because he was a body.
Yeah. We need Cena to beat someone.
Yeah, that's it.
You'll do.
So yeah,
it's like putting himself on par with Schwarzenegger as an action hero. It's like, I was in the Marine 3. You probably watched it. It's like it wasn't Predator. Like it wasn't Last Action Hero.
It wasn't Terminator. It wasn't any of these things. Yeah.
It wasn't Total Recall. Just go away.
Yeah. This is just cheesy publicity for their movie, and you'd expect it at this point. For what it's worth, the fans were into this, so fair enough.
Yeah,
that's fine. And
because Arnie.
It probably was quite the moment for the fans to see the likes of Arnie and Hulk Hogan in the same ring. It's kind of a bit of a cool little picture, if nothing else, with that whole thing. I didn't hugely dislike this segment. It was what you'd expect of it. I still think this wasn't as bad as the Michael Strahan disaster that happened a few months ago. Back when we first... it's actually our first episode, the Michael Strahan thing that we...
Do you know what? I have no memory of the Michael Strahan situation.
I'm glad you don't, because I do, and it was horrendous. It was just...
The most recent... The only one I really remember is The Butcher.
Oh, Kosher Butcher, yeah.
That's it. I only remember Kosher Butcher. I don't remember Strahan.
Guys, go back and listen to our first episode of the relaunch on this channel, and we talk a lot about that. And man, that was quite an episode of Raw to review just to start us off.
It was a cut above the rest.
Oh! Okay, moving on before we just go into puns and more puns. Just be like an extra hour of the podcast about just making more puns. I'm sure we could do that. But Titus O'Heel, yes, that is his name, Titus O'Heel. Don't let WWE fool you.
Fought the Big Slow.
Yeah, the Big Slow. This again was a horrible match. It was a lot of really bad matches. This was another one.
It was a terrible filler match.
It was terrible, really boring, not entertaining I mean, Titus O'Heel exactly hasn't done great since he's gone heel anyway.
I'm wondering why they decided to give it, because we haven't seen Darren Young really do anything since going off as the face.
Yeah.
And we really haven't seen Titus O'Heel do anything major as a heel.
Except lose matches, yeah.
Except for lose matches and just be a body for people to beat.
Yeah.
It's just like, cool. Why did you break the Primetime Players up again?
Yeah. Oh, dear.
It's like, it'd be a really good idea. Yeah, if you do it right, if you had a reason... You just did it.
You just did it, and then didn't have any sort of follow-up with the actual...
And now where am I going to get my millions of dollars?
Yeah.
God damn it.
Yeah, exactly. Sure. I mean, let's face it, now we're going to do that dance now when we go to a WWE live event, and everyone's going to think we're just fucking stupid, you know?
Yeah. I think we're
damn
crazy.
You, WWE. Damn you. Oh, well. Yeah, this match was horrible, and... yeah. It
was
expected.
What it is. Face one.
Yeah, it promotes that battle royal, but I mean, let's face it, anyone that's in that battle royal is essentially people they just didn't have any plans for actual WrestleMania.
I guess, yeah, so. I mean, I'm guessing that's why they had, we were trying to find an excuse earlier as to why why Goldust and Fandango had a match in the first place. They're in the Battle Royale. There we go.
I don't think that's a good enough reason, personally. But there we go.
That's just the reason WWE are going to give us, because they're having a match.
Yeah.
Well, they're not having a match together, they're going to be in a match.
It is, just take it. Take it. Don't even...
That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Don't question us! We are the creative team.
Almighty creative team. We do as we come on.
I know it's a real off topic, but you not imagine the creative team like in South Park, the Apple guys.
Doing like some sort of ritual backstage.
That's it. Just like get an answer.
What they would be, right? In terms of South Park, for any South Park fans out there who've seen this, the episode where he's trying to take the Margaritaville back to the company, and then you got the company that like chops off the chicken's head, and he just runs around on this big like circle, and wherever he lands, it's like, oh, okay, here's your refund. It told us to do it. That's what they do. It's just like they cut a head off a chicken.
That is creative.
And they run around. He just lands on a random wrestler, and they're like, okay, so John Cena's feuding with Zack Ryder. The Fable thing told us so. So yeah,
it's basic. It's what they use the like whenever Raw's in Vegas.
Yeah.
And like they've got the wheel. Yeah. It's what the wheel does when they're not in Vegas. Just the creative's decider.
Yeah.
Oh, magic fate wheel, decide us.
What match will we have?
Santino versus Undertaker. What?
Oh yeah. So, in all fairness, we'll probably see a lot more random matches if that was the case. So, Santino versus Undertaker, how bonkers would that be? Anyway, the Shield and the Authority had a segment backstage to essentially
I
talk
quite
about...
liked it. It was simple and straight to the point.
It was basically talking about their beatdown by Kane. Even all their shit that they gave Kane for fighting Daniel Bryan all that time ago, they really didn't care about the fact.
Yeah,
that
they didn't give two shits. Like the fact that it's like he's now, it's like you're fighting other wrestlers again. I don't care.
Yeah, just do what you want now, Kane. That's fine. Now. So yeah, that basically set up the match later on. Basically, they were going to avenge all the people that attacked them. It just seemed like a very evil revenge list that Shield was just ticking off names on their revenge list. And the Real Americans were that. They set it up. That was the main event of the night.
Yep.
And we'll go into that as well. They just followed up with a very quick segment of John Cena being backstage. He was seeing images of the goat mask behind him.
Yeah, John Cena should be drug tested right now.
Yeah. This was reminded me of a really bad segment on WCW. This particular segment wasn't nearly as bad as that one. But it was a segment where I think Hulk Hogan was seeing things in a mirror, but he had Eric Bischoff next to him, and he asked Eric Bischoff if he saw the thing, but Eric Bischoff said no, so it was like, okay, so Hulk Hogan's crazy, but us as the viewers could see it as well, so are we crazy? It just made no sense. All the logic just went out the window. It was just really odd. But yeah, it was just set up obviously the creepiness of the
oh, they're getting in his head. It's like, well, we saw it.
Yeah. That is the same thing, isn't it? It's like, oh, it wasn't really there, but we saw it as well. It just seemed really odd.
Yeah, it's like we like if you want to play up the fact that they're getting in their head, just have him just looking scared and turning around and thinking they're there. But if we don't see it, then we buy into the fact that he's going crazy.
Otherwise, we just think it's just some guy holding a goat mask by the door.
Yeah, I just imagine like one of the guys in a headset, just like one of the backstage hands, just go hold that mask somewhere. So, ooh,
scary mask, ooh, John Cena mask. Oh dear. Yeah, that may be something that TNA do with the Willow character. Who knows? So, Cena went against Harper. Like we said, they've been having a few matches on SmackDown. I heard that their SmackDown match was excellent. This match, however, I wasn't as convinced with.
Really?
It was good. It was alright. I just didn't think it was lived up to maybe the hype that other people had been telling me. Apparently, it was.
I had heard get off a friend just like a message out of nowhere. It's like, oh my god, Cena and Harper was amazing, and like this is before I'd even watched Raw, so I was just like, yeah, I'm really looking forward to watch this match. And I was like, yeah, it's a good match, but
it wasn't bad. I mean, some people obviously may think, oh, he's just thinking this about a match. No, it was good. I just don't think it was nearly as good as a lot of people were making it out to be.
That's it. It's like I wouldn't go around and say that was a terrible match, but I wouldn't turn around and say it's the greatest Cena match I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean,
it's probably the best Harper match I've seen. But.
Yeah, I mean, they had a match a couple of weeks ago with Cena against Sandow. I think that was a better match than this one, personally. I just thought that was a lot more action packed for the time that it had. This match wasn't, like I said, it wasn't bad. I just don't think it was the second coming like everyone was kind of saying it was. I still think that Cena and Bray Wyatt will have the better match at WrestleMania. That's the way it will go down. There was a really good ending to this match, however. It looked like Cena was getting the upper hand. He had Harper up for the attitude adjustment. The lights went out.
Yep.
And when it came back on, John Cena was hooked up on the ropes with the sheep's mask on.
Yep.
Really good image, this. I
That was
really
an
liked
awesome one, yeah.
And also you had Bray Wyatt laughing maniacally behind it.
And doing the whole... he sort of did follow... He didn't do follow the buzzers, but it was follow, regardless, so...
Yeah.
Close enough. But it's just the fact that even the crowd just, like, a "This is awesome" chant.
Yeah.
I mean, bearing in mind that throughout the entire match you had a "Let's go Harper" chant more than "Let's go Cena." But, you know...
I
and like
that crazy
people clapping along to the Wyatt's entrance music, but
it's good.
I think the Wyatts are now a bit like the Shield, like they're heel, but everyone loves them.
Yeah, and they will stay heel a lot long, for a long while before they eventually make their face turn. They will do one eventually because that's what, like we said last week. All great heels or heel factions, if they're really good at being a heel, they eventually have to go face. It's just the way it goes.
Because they're loved as that heel.
Exactly. Yeah. But I thought this was a really great image, and this is one of the things they'll obviously use in the video package just before their match at WrestleMania, and it will look awesome because of that. So.
Oh, that's it.
Very good. AJ Lee went 1-on-1 with Naomi. This was a no match. Again, there was a lot of these matches on Raw, and it came painfully obvious.
Well, you say filler, they kind of had a purpose.
Yeah.
Because Vicky came out for the first time in about... I don't even remember how long we saw Vicky again.
A very long time. I didn't exactly miss her, though, to be fair. No. I mean,
I will never miss Vicky's voice.
So we were wondering what the title match was going to be at WrestleMania. We thought that maybe it was going to be all the title divas against AJ Lee. It went one further than that. Just to explain, AJ walked out of this match and then she was stopped by Vicky Guerrero, as you said. Yeah. She announced the match. It was going to be AJ Lee essentially against every single diva that's on the roster, which include the likes of Emma, who's now new on the roster, which is great because we're big fans of Emma.
See, I don't want to need this explained to me because I kind of just didn't understand it. I was just like... So it's not quite a gauntlet match. It's like... Is it like a Fatal 4-Way sort of rulings? Only it's going to be about a dozen of divas, or...
I have no clue. I expect this to be a huge, ugly clusterfuck. I really
do. That's literally all I've put down. Like, I've got it in notes, like, there's going to be more than 2 divas. Instant clusterfuck.
Yeah. And to be honest, because there's so many in there, I'm like we said beforehand. If there's a I'm just so used to having multi-diva tag matches on Raw. Multi-diva match for the belt at WrestleMania, then AJ's going to walk out champion because why would you? If you're going to have someone beat you for the belt, do it like you will with Daniel Bryan. He's going to beat guys. He's the one guy in there. He's in his own.
Earn it.
It seems really odd to have that many divas. I think it's going to be horrendous, and this is probably going to be one of the quickest matches on the main.
Well, they need some. I guess they need something to play toilet break.
Yeah, and apparently they want all the title divas on there, and just to appease all the rest of the roster, they just gave everyone a shot at the title, which seems meh at best. We had the final induction to the Hall of Fame this year.
Yep,
and it was the bad guy, Razor Ramon. Give us your best Razor Ramon impression, Matt. Go on, do it.
I can't do it. I couldn't do a Razor Ramon because every time I try and do a Razor Ramon, I end up doing the Godfather.
It's not that far away again.
Not far off, but like literally just without nothing, I'll just end up. You come to me on the day of my daughter's wedding. It's not Razor Ramon. Just give me a toothpick and maybe I can work something out.
Yeah, maybe you can do it. Yeah, the king of impressions that you are on this. You did Arnie quite well last week and this week as well. And
thank you. I think you're quite happy to say I have quite a good Arnie.
Yeah, you do. I'll give you props for that. So, but yeah, in terms of Scott Hall, obviously Razor Ramon. The reason why they're inducting Razor Ramon that I've heard is because they're gonna induct
I heard
the NWO later.
Of the character.
Yeah, apparently there's two reasons. One, that Vince McMahon is very hot on the Razor Ramon character, and obviously the fact that the NWO will more than likely get inducted as well, and then obviously he'll be known as Scott Hall during that as well. So in that sense, it kind of makes a bit of sense. But it's quite fitting that with Jake going in, that you'd have Scott Hall going in, and we did say with Jake that if you're going to induct him, now is the perfect time to do it because if I was WWE,
we were talking about this during the week prior to the recording. It's just like. It's now turned into what is essentially DDP's year of fame.
Yeah. No,
I think DDP's received more praise this year than he had over his career.
Yeah.
It's just like, look at him. He's finally got Jake the Snake, someone who is renowned to be massive drug, like just crazy on drugs, like, you know, ruined his personal life and most of his career. And obviously Scott Hall, same boat. And what's DDP done? He's taken them in under his own protection and fixed them.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
That's like the sole reason, like, DDP was on old school Raw. Because, like, oh, we have Jake. We can have Jake. Well, we've got to have DDP because he fixed him. Yeah, but we could have Jake the Snake.
I think, DDP himself obviously had a very illustrious career.
Definitely.
And we'll talk about it more. I just don't want to glaze over the fact that Scott Hall deserves the induction because,
yes,
his time in wrestling, you can't really, for a guy to have such a huge impact, not just in WWE, but when you went to WCW with Kevin Nash, Jesus, the impact that guy had. Now, obviously, there's a lot of low points in his career that goes with his vices. WCW did not treat him well when his vices got the worst of him and gave him a gimmick of being a drunk while he was a drunk. So
yeah.
Not very classy there, WCW, and that was just a few things that WCW did. But
WCW ruins everything.
One of the things I think was said quite well is the fact that I can't remember who said it on the actual video package of this, but I think it was Paul Heyman actually said that with all the ladder matches that you had, people are still talking about Razor Ramon versus Shawn Michaels. And they are, because you can't get much better. That's a pure ladder match in every sense of the word. So,
well, I think that was definitely like a match to sort of, this is what you could do with a ladder match.
Yeah, it was.
Not sort of like, I just got to climb the ropes. It's like, that was a proper, like, take it to the next level ladder match.
Yeah, and for a ladder match, for what was in its inception back then, there wasn't that many, if at all, on WWE television.
Yeah.
They did really well. They made that match their own, so fair play to them. And they had more than one as well. Obviously, they had a few ladder matches with each other.
Yeah.
The lineup of inductees this year is pretty damn impressive, I have to say.
I'd say so. I'm definitely going to have to try and watch the Hall of Fame ceremony.
I hear that they're doing the entire thing on the network, and it's going to, I think the entire thing is like 3 hours long or something stupid like that.
Right.
But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think I'm going to quite enjoy the Hall of Fame this year. And yeah, very good lineup. It's going to be quite interesting. Yeah. So, the main event of the night. The Shield against the Real Americans. I'm not calling this a match. I'm calling this the Seth Rollins show.
Yes, definitely.
Of all the guys in the Shield to basically shine over the last month, I think Rollins is the one.
I think it's because that everyone else has had their opportunity to shine. Like, Ambrose is definitely down as the crazed brawler.
Yeah.
And obviously Reigns is down as the powerhouse.
Yeah.
But a lot of people still, well, obviously now they do, but know what Rollins is like.
Yeah, his performances have put him on the map the last couple of weeks, and over the last month or two, he's no longer the guy. He's no longer the third guy in the Shield. People know him as Seth Rollins, this guy that can do just crazy stuff in the ring.
Yeah.
So that's really good.
Especially considering he just pulls off some great, like, his reversals are just bizarre.
Yeah.
But they're really effective, and like, obviously, Swagger had him up. He had him in the Patriot Lock, and Onyx was on the rope, and they just flipped it in and straight into an Enziguri, and it's just like, so good. Like, just proper, like, just quick, bang, bang, bang. And it's essentially Rollins' style. It's just like, you don't have time to think. You just get your head kicked in.
Yeah. And it's like I said, some of his counter wrestling is really impressive to watch. They're really entertaining. And I'm glad for the guy, because now we're in the issue of like, if they're going to have a match between all three members of the Shield, then you have to have Rollins win. You have to give him that. I don't think he even needs it anymore. I think the guy's doing all right now over the last month or two.
I mean, if there's one part of this match, it's the fact that we now know what his finisher is called.
Yeah,
the Peace of Mind.
Yeah. And
makes sense.
What a fucking curb stomp that is. That is that is a nasty looking finisher, if anything. So, what is essentially such a simple concept? Yeah, it looks pretty beastie. Shield got the win here pretty convincingly, really.
Thanks to the curb stomp.
Yeah, thanks to that Peace of Mind. We saw a lot of. I imagine just the idea of them doing like a comic and him doing that and then squeezing someone's peace of mind out of their head. So
too much GTA 5 there.
Yeah, just a little bit. Like, I think so.
I'll talk to him. Hello, shouting at the boot.
The Kane and the Outlaws came out to announce their match at Mania. They're going to go against the Shield at WrestleMania. This is one of the things I wanted to talk about a lot of the changes. First of all, just before I start, this isn't the match I want to see involving the Shield, even if they were going to stick together.
I wanted that triple threat match.
Yeah, we wanted
the thing is that I'm sort of taking, which is kind of a good thing, is the Shield do very good at 6-man tag matches.
Yes, and I would counter that. I would counter that by saying, we've also said on record the Outlaws haven't been good since they came back.
Yes.
So, can you really think...
Stop countering my argument.
Man,
The
reason I say that, look at this match, right? You've got two quite athletic guys in Cesaro and Jack Swagger.
Yeah.
You know, even they would struggle to keep up with the pace of someone like Rollins, who's very quick. Do you think Rollins is really going to be able to go at that pace, do all that amazing stuff with the Outlaws in the ring? I'm not as convinced.
No.
So that's the issue that I have with this. The one thing I do want to bring up as well before I forget. Now, look, not just with this, but with the tag team match. These are the two things that I want you to look back on. The last 3 weeks and before then, since the last pay-per-view, they were building quite heavily towards an Outlaws versus Usos match. They were building quite heavily towards the Shield breaking up. And then suddenly, almost like in the same week, everything changed. It was almost like they changed their plans for WrestleMania. And they changed it very close to WrestleMania. So over the last couple of weeks that they've started building up towards this particular rivalry.
So, I mean, the one thing I'm finding it difficult is the fact that, like you said earlier on in the night, where Triple H is like, what's going on between you guys, the Shield, and the New Age Outlaws, and Kane, has nothing to do with us. But it's like you're the authority. You're also very good friends with the New Age Outlaws.
Yeah.
And it's just like, where have they suddenly come into this? Like, it's because they were like, oh yeah, we're not here because Triple H brought us here, because we're old buddies. It's like, we're here to do what we do. And now, like with Kane, now it's just like, well, why are they working with Kane? It just doesn't make sense.
There's been no interaction between the Outlaws and Kane, Outlaws and Shield ever. And I know the reason why this match has happened is because the Outlaws have apparently
they're hot on the Shield and they really want to work with them.
Yeah, they really want to work with them. But fine, if you want to work with them, but not at WrestleMania at the detriment of the pay-per-view.
Essentially, not for the cost. Not at the cost of a currently building story as well.
Yeah, I mean, everything changed over. I mean, this close to WrestleMania, come on, we're not as naive to think that they changed plans this close to WrestleMania. They've done it before. But for something this big, for the 30th WrestleMania, the first one on the network, you'd think they would have all this shit set in stone by now.
Yeah.
So it just seems really odd that they changed it, and they really did. They just changed, literally 1 week, everything was changed, and everything was on this new track that it is now. So yeah, really odd, and I'm not looking forward to Shield against Kane and Outlaws. I don't think that they can perform. I want
it to surprise me, but it's for the first time in months, almost a year. The Shield match is not the match I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
And I'm not particularly caring for it.
No, for me, I think if you had the triple threat between these guys, they could have really showcased their talents and their personalities in a match and told a story. But in this one, this is very cookie cutter, and this is a sort of match.
The only other thing I can imagine is if this is the match where the cracks, you remember a couple of weeks ago when the cracks were definitely forming, and this is when it breaks.
Yeah, well, they lose the match, and this is where it kind of.
Or
something. I can see that.
And then we have the triple threat match at Extreme Rules or something.
Yeah, but I think I don't see many other people disagreeing with us the fact that they would want Kane and Outlaws versus Shield more than a Shield triple threat. But I mean, come on. I mean, the Outlaws already had a match set for Mania. They were gonna, maybe be involved in that tag team title match with the Usos. They got a rematch clause, which apparently is non-existent now.
No, they lost it.
No, they didn't even perform in that match on Main Event.
No, they didn't, did they?
No, they didn't, no. And they were still coming out and being at ringside during Usos matches and stuff, and literally just changed in 1 week. And suddenly they don't care about the tag titles anymore. So this is one of the issues that WWE does. Sometimes they just suddenly want to change everything, and it happens very quick. And
it's kind of the problem with WrestleMania season. It's the fact that you think it's set, and then suddenly just something drastically changes.
Yeah, the card changes very quickly, and sometimes they just get a little bit panicky. If they had stayed the ship, I think you would have had a better card. But that's just the way I think about it.
Yeah.
So the final segment of the evening, Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman came out to the ring. Lesnar, they had basically had an elongated promo, basically saying a lot of the stuff they've done, saying that Brock Lesnar will conquer the streak and he will destroy Taker.
I liked his T-shirt.
What, the eat, sleep, break the streak? Yeah, I thought that was pretty good.
Or the I'm the Paul Heyman Beast.
Yeah,
on the back.
That
was good. I liked that.
Lesnar said that he wants to take a ride now.
That was like, I love it when Lesnar's voice breaks, because suddenly he's like, shit, he's really intimidating. And you just laugh at him.
Yeah.
It's like, we'll deal this with it right here.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no.
In the weeks leading up to WrestleMania, I watched this Raw with my wife to get her, because she wants to watch it and get used to it towards WrestleMania. And, yeah. Man, I could not stop her Googling when that happened. Just something to about this hulking behemoth of a guy that looks very intimidating. It's
the only problem with Lesnar is it's actually the instant he takes the mic as well. Because he doesn't sound particularly... He doesn't sound very threatening either.
Yeah, he doesn't have like a Goldberg or Triple H or Vince McMahon voice. Or
even like an Undertaker voice. Yeah. Sort of like, he's got quite a high-pitched voice.
Yeah.
There we go.
Oh well, it's almost like Mike Tyson, isn't it?
Pussy.
Huh?
But I still wouldn't go up to his face and call him a pussy.
No, we know better than that.
Yeah.
So after that particular voice break, a casket is brought out to the ring with the Druids.
Yes.
Obviously here for WrestleMania season, along with the Undertaker.
That's it.
Lesnar looks very intimidated by it. He bangs on it a few times with his leg and then decides to open it. And it's
dun dun dun.
No one's there. He seems very incensed by it. Says he's going to leave, and then Taker
rises. It's all part of a joke, yeah.
Taker rises from the casket and fights with Lesnar, and obviously throws him out of the ring. Lesnar sold it like $1 million going off the casket, which he did for Big Show, so you can give him props for that. He does like to sell big for guys that he's going against.
Yep.
Now, this is a segment that me and Matt are long-time wrestling fans. We've seen Taker do this segment before. It's not the first time he's done this.
This is just generic, like couple of leading up to Mania segment, really.
Yeah, we've seen the whole Taker not being in the casket, and then he is in the casket. We've seen this exact promo done before in rivalries that he's had over the years. They haven't done it recently, but it's more forgiving.
Well, I think because last year they were more interested in the fact that Punk stole the urn.
Yeah, it was all about that, wasn't it? So, yeah, I mean, like I said, because Undertaker's not on TV that much, you can't really criticise him that much. It's part of Undertaker's character to do these things by now. One thing that I will say is that I did catch the fact that the material, that was the little the little trick that they did to have Undertaker appear magically in it. I saw it moving around, so I knew something was going on. I was looking.
I didn't even see it, but I didn't spot that. But yeah. I knew he would still be in it.
Yeah, we knew, but I caught the trick anyway. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to criticise it. I was looking for it, so fair enough. I mean, I'm not going to say it was.
Well, I didn't look for it. I just knew it was going to happen.
Yeah, sort of thing. Now, in terms of Taker and Lesnar, I am quite excited for these two guys to have the match at Mania.
I'm always excited for the Taker match.
That's actually the match that over here in Ireland, at very least, that they're actually promoting to actually promote the event. They're not doing the Daniel Bryan, Triple H, or the title match. They're doing Taker versus Lesnar to be the selling point.
Really?
Which, I mean, to a degree, I would agree with.
Usually, you'd see like the Cena one being the selling point of it.
The difference is everyone knows
it's not Cena Rock. So
everyone knows who the Undertaker is, and a lot of people that would be
don't know who Bray Wyatt is.
Know who Lesnar is. A lot of people that maybe only catch WrestleMania once a year wouldn't know who Bray Wyatt is, so it kind of wouldn't sell as much. And also people who come in once a year. Yeah, I mean, sure, you can do Batista Orton, but with the backlash of that match, they don't want to advertise it as that, and it's complicated, that match now, with having the fact that either Triple H or Daniel Bryan is. So, easy you can. It's actually the most uncomplicated match at Mania, Lesnar and Taker. And
they want to fight. They're just going to fight.
This could be a really good match. So, really
definitely
these guys.
So, I was going to say it's the one match I'm most looking forward to, but that's actually a lie.
What match are you most looking forward to?
The match I'm most looking forward to, and I can't believe I'm about to say it because it involves the one person I hate, the Cena match.
Yeah, I think that could be very good as well. Now, I would go ahead. I wouldn't say that I'm looking forward to that more than this one, but I can understand why you would. Bray Wyatt, when he gets in the ring, has always high-quality matches, and I think that those two... We've said this before. Wyatt versus Cena could be a show stealer. It really could. Now...
It's a fact that I will never turn around and say that Cena is shit. Like, I would never turn around and say that he's not capable of Class A matches.
Yeah, because he's done them before. It's just we dislike how his character is.
Yeah, that's it. We dislike the character, and that's about it.
Yeah,
I won't take anything away from the guy.
Yeah, he can perform good matches, as you would expect for someone that's been wrestling that long. I mean, he wasn't exactly talented when he started, but
who's been an 11-time champion. Yeah, it's like there's a kind of a reason why he has been that.
Yeah. So, looking into that, I mean, all in all, this was a Raw of really mixed results. There was some good stuff to see here, but there was some shockingly bad matches.
I think this was, it's like because Mania's like, it's not this week, it's not this Sunday, it's next Sunday.
You got one more Raw now till Mania, yeah. So
as a result, it's like, we don't have. It's too early to put a proper exclamation on all the matches. But it's too late to do anything else, really.
Yeah, you can't put that final stamp in it. You've got to keep things ticking along, haven't you? And that's
what and this is it's that sort of thing. Like, we always mention the pay-per-view at the halfway point, and this was it for Mania.
Yeah. The one thing I will say, though, I mean, while we do give these shows a bit of leeway because of that, some of these matches could have been far better. There's no dancing around that fact. There was some absolutely shockingly bad matches on this card.
Yeah.
For this week, and it became a little bit of like a theme of the show. There was more bad matches than good ones, and apart from that Fatal 4-Way at the start of the show, there really wasn't much really to speak of. I mean, Cena and Harper was good, but there really isn't.
Yeah, I mean, I still enjoyed the Shield Real Americans.
Yeah, I mean, that was a good enough match. Yeah, like I said, Seth Rollins kind of stole the show with that one. So there was good stuff to see, but there was a lot of bad stuff to see as well, unfortunately.
Yeah.
One other note as well, Batista's infamous jeans ripped on Raw.
Yep.
There was actually a picture posted up, you could probably find it quite easily, about literally just... He hid it quite well from the camera, so fair play to him, but yeah, there was a lot of rippage.
We saw it.
Yeah. They were just too tight, Batista, come on.
Well, the thing is, apparently, I saw this on No DQ, and it was like, apparently he gets, like, a lot of people obviously wouldn't go directly to Batista's face because he'll probably just piss and moan.
Yeah.
But apparently there's been a lot of talk about the fact that people think that the skinny jean look on him is ridiculous.
I think a lot of fans would agree with that as well.
And a lot of fans would agree. I would agree with that. I think the skinny jean look anywhere is ridiculous. But the fact to see someone like Batista come out and then split them on a spear, it's just like, just come back with baggy next week, please.
Just do it. Save yourself the embarrassment, I guess. That's his style. I mean, WWE.com actually did a segment about Batista's fashion sense. It just shows you the fact that it's just been well documented, yeah. But it wasn't like, oh, look how all these cool stuff he's doing. It was more like his fashion disaster. So they're not exactly hiding from the fact this guy wears some bonkers stuff.
Oh, what you mean, like the leather jacket and flat cap before he left?
Very. So you're not going to be picking up the Batista line anytime soon, then? No,
I will not. No,
he won't be partaking in those exquisite clothes that he.
I quite like breathing room for my junk.
Yeah.
So
cutting off the circulation
are not for me.
Exactly. Yeah. Moving swiftly on, that was the Raw review this week. I hope you guys did enjoy that. Like I said, there was some good stuff to see, but there was a hell of a lot of crap. This is a show that I would say watch, like, you know, they WWE often put out those shows where they show the highlights of Raw. This is probably one of the ones to catch them on. There isn't really much else to see apart from certain segments here. So we move on to our review of the Scooby Doo Wrestlemania Mystery by myself and by its intended audience, my 4-year-old daughter. Watched this alongside me, and I picked her brains about the stuff that she liked and the stuff that she disliked about it. Now, I'm not going to say I'm a big fan of Scooby Doo, but I watched it when I was a kid. You know, I enjoyed it.
I was going to say, we're old enough to have watched a lot of Scooby Doo.
Yeah,
to be fair,
it was around when we were kids. You know, it's gone through the years. I'll just go through the few things that I thought about it. I thought it was very, very well animated. I thought that it was quite entertaining. It kind of didn't take, obviously Scooby Doo, so it didn't take itself too seriously. The one thing I will say about it, maybe it's just because I'm older now, I haven't watched Scooby Doo in ages, but it was very predictable. You knew,
of course, it's predictable.
Yeah. But I mean, when I was a kid, I was like, I can't believe that was the person.
Oh my god, it was Old Man Jenkins! Yeah. It's always Old Man Jenkins.
Yeah, and you would have got away with it as well if it wasn't for this meddling podcast. So now,
and their dog.
But it doesn't matter what I think. Ideally, it's not meant for me. This particular movie is made for kids to get into WWE. It's meant to get them into wrestling. It's like almost like an entryway into wrestling. It's not actually really meant.
It's a gateway film.
Part of the movie is some of the characters in it not liking wrestling, and then they come round to wrestling at the end of it, and they really enjoy it. The likes of Velma, who thinks it's just like barbaric, and it's just
I can imagine Velma not being a fan.
Yeah, exactly. But there were some funny bits to have here, and obviously all the characters had the wrestlers that voiced them. They really made good use of the WWE music library. All the music was basically WWE music in it, so they really made all of it. But like I said, it doesn't matter what I think. It's not meant for me. I'll tell you, in short, if anyone has had any kids, you can tell how good a kids movie is by how enthralled they are by it and how many times they sway from the TV set. If they sit by it, let's say, if you've got like a show that's really bad, they just won't watch it, But if you've got like a movie like Frozen, my kid will sit there and watch every single minute of Frozen and won't even wave from the screen.
Yep, I can vouch for that.
Yep.
I tried to say bye to her when I left the country, but no, Frozen was on.
Exactly. Yeah. So, in terms of that, she only wavered from the attention of the movie twice. There was two like kind of dull moments where she kind of wavered out, but she quickly got back into it as time got on. So in that fair sense, you can give it a thumbs up for that. Her favourite wrestler in it was Sin Cara. For anyone knows, Sin Cara's actually got a huge part of this. He doesn't speak, but he speaks through interpretive dance, which, as you can imagine, is quite interesting. And she liked the end where Scooby Doo. Spoiler alerts for anyone who really wants it.
Don't you dare!
You don't want to know.
Let's go on.
Cover your ears.
It's like you said, it's Scooby Doo and it's really predictable. Yeah. So I've probably already figured out who it is.
She quite liked the ending where it built up to Scooby Doo winning the WWE Championship.
Oh my god!
So, by not even winning a match for the WWE Championship, might add. So that is quite. I mean, it's a kids show. You can get anal about it if you like and think, "Oh, this really happened." It's a fucking kids show. Get over yourself.
It's Scooby Doo. End of.
Now, like I said, I thought it was pretty well made, and she loved it. She thought it was great. I think it's something that she'll definitely watch again. I think, like I said, there was a few dull moments in it. The thing I did like about it, though, personally, is that it had a few cameos. It had, like, Jimmy Hart in there and stuff. They didn't say anything, but they were just animated and stuff, so I thought it was pretty good.
Really?
Yeah. And for the keen eye, like myself, I spotted a few little Easter eggs. In fact, there's a bit in the movie where they go to this training area, and the training area has, like, its own Titantron, and it's the old SmackDown Fist Titantron. I thought that was pretty good. Pretty awesome little throwback from the old SmackDown set.
That's cool.
The idea, though, I mean, a lot of the story goes around. I mean, the general story is that Scooby Doo wins like a trip to WWE City. There's an entire city of WWE stuff. It's basically like a Las Vegas for wrestling, and WWE got the whole endorsement.
I can imagine that happening.
There's just the idea of having a WWE City sounds like Vince McMahon's wet dream. It really does.
It does.
But yeah, the idea also that him not touring and just having all his shows in one area just obviously seems a bit bizarre. But it's a kid's show. Who gives a shit? But yeah, all in all, if I had to give it a review, I thought it was okay. I didn't mind watching it as a parent, and she loved it. She thought it was very fun. And when she actually saw me watching wrestling, she was like, "That guy was on Scooby Doo." So like I said, it was a pretty good entrance point for kids to get, to remember some of these wrestlers.
Well, the thing I find quite funny is the fact that every person isn't like every of the wrestlers meant to be a face.
Yeah, all of them are face. Yeah, except for Kane, who.
Let's release. Well, yeah, Kane is a bad example, but it's like good. Let's release it at the same time as Triple H beating people up.
And AJ Lee, who's facing it as well with that old stuff. I mean, let's face it.
Yeah.
They obviously had to make this with. It takes a while to animate and get all this stuff sorted out. This thing isn't done in a weekend, so obviously they had to do it. So a lot of the stuff, like for instance, like Brodus Clay is in it, but you haven't seen him on, and he's obviously heel now, but you haven't seen him as the Funkosaurus in ages, and it's just little things like that. But you'd expect it. I mean, it's like the WWE games. When they release, they're not up to date because it takes time to make the fucking game. So that's not how it goes. But if I had to give it anything, if you're a parent, and you're thinking of getting this for your kid, I would give it a thumbs up. I think that you wouldn't mind watching it yourself, and I think your kids would enjoy it as well. So, Thumbs up.
I think it'd look a bit weird. I think it'd just look a bit weird if I tried watching myself. I don't have kids.
Yeah.
I think it'd be like, what did you do? I watched the Scooby Doo Wrestlemania Mystery. And
I'll fly over my daughter, and you can watch it with her. There you go. I've got an excuse. There you go.
You are very welcome to do so.
Yeah, there you go. At least I get a weekend without having to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, which would be quite ideal.
You know full well I wouldn't complain.
Yeah. Well, you would eventually if you had to keep doing it. That's a conversation for another while.
This is for a weekend. I can deal with that.
So yeah, that's our review of Scooby Doo as through the eyes of its intended audience. And listen, if you watch other podcasts and they're just moaning about how it is, well, it's not for them, it's for kids. So shut up. That's all I have to say about it.
There we go.
This week's topic is Matt's topic, so I'm going to let him roll with it. You'll start us off here, Matt. You're basically talking about the unification of the belts and the aftermath of what's happened with unification.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's sort of as a result of watching the Fatal 4-Way match right at the beginning of Raw.
Mm.
I mean, you've got Sheamus, Christian, Del Rio, and Dolph Ziggler chasing for number one contendership of the Intercontinental title.
Mm. Which you wouldn't have seen.
Only 6 months ago, the Intercontinental was a mid-card title. It's currently held by a mid-card wrestler in Big E.
Mm.
But those four guys would be competing in number one contendership Fatal 4-Ways for the WWE title. Or the World Heavyweight title. Yeah. You wouldn't see imagine, could you see Sheamus being Intercontinental Champion?
Yeah, it seems very odd to think. When you look back at
6 months ago, such a thing wouldn't be conceived. You literally no, because he's main event.
Yeah, he's past that point.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, so it's sort of just is this now going to be a case of the IC title and the US title? And apparently, there's been talks of a unification of those as well, and I think that would be really detrimental to the mid card, essentially, because there's nothing to chase.
I would disagree.
Every person needs to. It's always that sort of thing. You get a lot of times where it's just if you're going to be in the WWE, you should be aiming for gold.
Yeah,
and if there's only if they unify the IC and the US, and there's only essentially two titles to chase, you're kind of stuck.
I get what you're saying, because, let's face it, WWE's roster now is bigger than it's ever been. And if you've got only 2 belts when there was 4 to go for, I get what you mean. But when it comes down to... I understand what you're saying, but in practice, the way WWE use it, let's face it, Dean Ambrose basically holding the US title is more like a prop rather than a belt at this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He doesn't really defend it. So... in turn, I think if they did amalgamate the titles and they made them into one, they unified them, then I think that at least they would give that a little bit more care. And maybe it'll go back to the old days when the likes of Stone Cold and The Rock were fighting for the IC title, as they were just getting up into their rise. Or Bret Hart was fighting for the IC title.
Everyone fights for the US and the IC title when they're on their rise.
Yeah, but a lot of people
think back, who's one of the greatest IC champions? Mr. Perfect. But did Mr. Perfect ever hold the main titles?
He never did, but arguably he should have, because he was that good.
Well, yeah.
He's one of those people on that list, like Ted DiBiase, that should have got the belt sometimes during their career, which never did, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I know what you mean, yeah.
But then you've now got people who come in who don't go through that line. They don't go through the IC Championship. They don't go through the United States. They get thrown straight into the headlines. Like Sheamus, for example, he debuted, bam, straight on the WWE title.
Yeah, there was no rise. It was just him.
There's no rise of Sheamus. Just bang, you're a headliner now.
Yeah.
Same with Del Rio. Bam, World Heavyweight. You're a headliner.
Brock Lesnar.
Yeah. Christian. Yeah. Okay. Christian has held the IC title before, and he's been obviously he went through the tag division and things like that. But 6 months ago, you would have thought Christian's going to hold the IC title again. Shut up. He's not an IC. He's not a mid card.
Yeah, he's in the elimination chamber. So
that's it.
Yeah.
And that's sort of it. You've got people who have essentially nothing to chase, because they're going to get sidelined even at the lower title by a main event guy.
There's only so many slots you can fill for people going for the belts. You can't have like 6-man matches every pay-per-view for the belt sort of thing. I know what you mean, and I mean, let's face it, WWE haven't treated the IC or the US belts that well over the last 2-3 years. They really haven't treated it that well at all. And you know, because of that, it seems really odd just to have, you know, the likes of Christian and Sheamus even wanting to fight for that belt.
Yeah.
But if they've got a long-term plan ahead and they really want to make the IC title or the US title actually mean more going forward, then they're going to have that. They're going to have the likes of these people coming down a little step, and you're not going to have the likes of John Cena going for the US belt. You'll have to have the ones that are just drifting between mid card and top card, you know, like the likes of Sheamus, you know, and Christian. That it wouldn't seem out of place for them to not challenge for the belt for a year, you know, for the main belt. So, but having the IC title around them may elevate that belt a little bit more back to where it needs to be. But it's whether WWE actually has the foresight and the long-term plan to do that. I'm not entirely convinced.
Yeah.
They may just want to do a unification match because that's a quick buck, and then they're stuck with the same problem that they've had for a very long time now. It does mean that I think you're going to see a lot more matches that don't involve belts, and I don't even know how they're going to really do the Night of Champions pay-per-view now, because there's only going to be like, if they unify that belt, you've got 4 matches, that's it.
Yeah, 4 belts, that's it. Yeah.
But you know, maybe it's tough to see. It matters how they run with this, really. Whether they actually really view these 2 lower belts. Okay, now the heavyweight belt is gone, essentially. Is it they're going to stay where they are, or do they move them up and they treat it like that, or do they book it like that? It's down to WWE how well they do that. But it's going to take, I tell you what, I mean, I agree with you in the sense, it's going to take a hell of a lot to re-educate the fan base to think that this belt is now higher than it was.
Yeah.
Because it does seem odd, even to me, as a fan of the IC belt, having the likes of all the big legends of wrestling, you know, having the belt and having fantastic matches. Bret Hart against Mr. Perfect for the IC title at SummerSlam is one of the best matches I've seen in my life. It was fantastic. Oh, yeah. And you look at the fan response for that. They wanted that match, that IC belt. Look at we were just talking about Razor Ramon and Shawn Michaels earlier on. That was for the IC belt.
Yeah, that's it. Unification of the IC.
Yeah. So, you know, that was a match that you know, essentially stole the show. And
it stole the show, and it sort of raised the bar.
Yeah, I mean, IC belt back then, it meant a lot. It was the second tier belt. No one's ever going to say it wasn't. But I mean, you look at the likes of, Ultimate Warrior had the IC belt and he fought with it. He was IC champion when he went to WrestleMania to wrestle for the WWE title. You know, so you look at it like that, and you know, it used to mean so much more back then. But WWE, they're going to have a plan, not just over 12 months, but 24 months, almost 2 years, to get that belt back up to where it is if they really want to
some sort of prestige, yeah.
I think you're at the same sort of consensus as me. If they unify it, they're probably going to keep the IC belt and get rid of the US. That's the way I would say it. The US,
especially considering they've brought back the original, I say the original, but like the old IC style belts.
The white belt, yeah.
The white belts. And I love the white belt.
Yeah, that's classy. I like that one. The reason I say that as well is that the US title was predominantly a WCW or NWA belt. The WWE always had the IC title. That was one of their main staples. And
I think that was it, because you're talking like the IC Intercontinental, as in worldwide.
Yeah.
Where US is, well, it's the US.
And which can't been we've had the likes of Cesaro.
Cesaro, yeah, I was just about to say, but granted, Cesaro's held the United States Championship, but regardless.
Yeah. But
he's a real American, so...
Yeah. So...
It's fine.
I mean, we could talk about this for hours. I mean, I disagree with you in the sense I know you want both the belts to be... to stay on the roster, maybe give love equally to both those belts and really give it, make it so people are chasing both the belts. But I think because the brands have separated now, I don't think you need 2 tier 2 belts. I think you go just for one. I think you would unify it.
Yeah.
But to me, it's worrying because I don't know if WWE legitimately wants to give time to the IC belt to bring it back up to the glory. I mean, it hasn't been up there for just so long. I mean, I remember back in the days when Chris Jericho was around towards the end of his, not towards the end of his run, but you know, towards the end of one of his runs, him and Rey Mysterio was going for the IC belt. There was a rivalry for it, and it didn't seem out of place back then having Chris Jericho and Rey Mysterio for the belt, and they were having great matches against each other.
Yeah,
so a lot has changed from then to now. And
that's it. Especially like just nowadays, it seems so far fetched.
I mean,
not so much for Jericho. He lost to Fandango last year, so
I don't know. We understand why that happened, didn't we? So,
yeah.
But I understand what you're saying as well. But it's all how about WWE treat the belts, and the only belt they've treated with any respect is the WWE belt, and even then sometimes they treat that with a little bit of shit. So, yeah.
Play hot potato with the belts.
Yeah, they do. And I mean, this is one of the things that they do, and one of the things they haven't done as much recently. We've seen long title reigns. Apart from obviously Daniel Bryan getting beaten in that night. But I mean, we had like CM Punk champion for over a year. We had Randy Orton now has been champion since SummerSlam, so that's a good 6 months. We've had Dean Ambrose on the epic no defense title run that he's been on. But
I mean, he defended it against Henry.
Yeah, or if you can call that a defense, yeah. But I think he went like 4 months without ever doing a defense.
Yeah, I think it was like back in October or something.
Yeah. But they're not playing hot potato with the belts as much anymore, but they're not also making it competitive for those belts, which is the issue. It's an afterthought, unfortunately.
I know Triple H teased it, like when he was going on about like the sort of belts that Daniel Bryan would be better suited to run for, and he was just like, hell, I'll just bring back the Cruiser belt. Let's bring back the Cruiser belt.
Yeah, God. If you remember not the cruiserweight belt, but the light heavyweight belt was actually given to Gillberg, and he was the longest serving light heavyweight champion because he never defended it. And if you remember Gillberg, he was the spoof of Goldberg. He would come down, he was this wiry guy that would come down and do all Goldberg stuff, but then he would just do it really goofy. Do you remember Gillberg?
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
I wish I didn't. It's sort of another one of those moments where it's just like, it was a low point.
A little bit ashamed to be a wrestling fan, aren't you, sort of thing, yeah.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to show that to anyone that wasn't a wrestling fan. And
it's like, I don't understand why you like it. And it's like, I will show you matches that will make you realise that this is awesome stuff. Who's that? Yeah, we don't mention that.
Yeah, don't look at that. That's not for you.
Yeah. You weren't around. You don't get to worry about it. Who was this Hurricane? Nothing. Nothing.
Go over here and look at The Rock and Austin. Don't look at these other guys. You know.
I did enjoy the Hurricane.
Yeah, I did. But it goes on the same thing that any non-wrestling fan, that is just going to make it look worse to them, isn't it? Really. So
yeah, that is true.
There's a lot less of that nowadays, but yeah, still. So, is there anything else you want to talk about that topic anyway? Or, I mean, I kind of said what we said. We disagree on a topic, which is quite
That's
rare.
it.
So,
I think if you're not going to give, if you're going to unify them, I still just think there shouldn't be. Well, as you said, like Night of Champions would get boring. There'll only be 4 championships to compete for. So
one thing you could do is have the NXT championship depending on that event. That make it a little bit special.
That's true. There is always the NXT titles to bring in.
Yeah. And let's face it, NXT has a lot of really great wrestling. I just don't get the time to watch nowadays. It makes me quite angry.
But you made time for TNA. That's the one thing that shocks me. Like, I don't get
it takes twice as long to watch an episode of TNA than does NXT. That's the worst thing.
And
NXT is an hour.
I haven't watched NXT, but you've watched TNA.
I know. Slap on the wrist for Tony. He knows better now. I tried to give it. I gave it a try. Man. I gave it a try.
For shame.
You're just such a big fan of NXT that
I'll send you a link.
Anything? Yeah, that's it. So, yeah. Is there anything else that you want to say about that, or shall we wrap up?
I think it's safe to say we could wrap up today.
Good podcast this week, guys. I hope you guys did enjoy it. If you do have any comments to speak about the topic, maybe you don't think that the titles should be unified, maybe you do think, or maybe you think there's been irreparable damage done to those belts, like I would say. So, who do you agree with, me or Matt? Leave a comment in the comment section. Leave a like as well if you enjoy the podcast, and if you're new to the podcast, then subscribe.
Jazz.
Huh?
All that social media jazz.
All that jargon. You know all the stuff. But yeah, subscribe if you're new to the podcast. Join us, and we'll glad to have you on this train ride. And yeah, next week is the final Raw before WrestleMania 30. So we'll have our predictions of the matches that on the Raw. Hopefully they don't change the card again. That would be quite odd. But yeah, I wouldn't put it past WWE. Nope. But yeah. So apart from that, thank you guys for watching. I hope you have a great week, and thanks a lot. We'll see you again next week.
Yeah, we'll catch you next time.
Bye bye.
See you later.